Welcome back to In a Nutshell, and this is my opinions on Fallout 3. I'm relatively new to the Fallout series, and I actually just completed my first playthrough of Fallout 3 in 2021. But that doesn't take away from the fantastic things that this game has to offer, and I think you should play it right now. The end. I'm kidding. Do you like story-based games with a little gunplay and some actual changes to the environment with decisions you make? Do you like being able to customize your character and have a backstory and play however you want, whether it be evil, good, somewhere in between? Well, then this game's for you. This by no means is a perfect game. There are lots of things that are iffy and flaws and lots of things that people complain about and disagree. But let's talk about what I liked about this game. The combat. I loved the combat, particularly the melee combat. In my opinion, out of all the Fallouts I've played, 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4 is the best. Playing melee is a viable option all the way through this game because of all the options and stuff you can do. If you don't want to play melee, there are plenty of other options you can do. Let's say you want to be a sniper. Let's say you want to do handguns only. Let's say you want to use big guns. Guess what? There are perks and things to go along with that, and you know what? That's great. The varied environments in this game, I think, are fantastic. The different towns, places, the DLCs, which added a lot later on, are fantastic. And the exploration. Oh, the exploration. Let's say you go here, you're looking through this thing, and oh, hey, you found a secret, or some gnomes playing chess and stuff like that. There's so many secrets and great exploration in this game. I cannot give it enough praise for that because, in my opinion, out of New Vegas and 4, the exploration in 3 is my favorite. Operation Anchorage, honestly, the whole time I was playing it, I was like, hey, you know what? This is like GoldenEye. And I actually have a playthrough here on YouTube where I say that a lot. For the longest time, I was a huge fan of the VAT system in this game in New Vegas until I completely played through Fallout 4, which I gave my opinions on here. But that doesn't mean you can't take advantage of the VAT system in this game and how solid it is. The different armor types in this game, honestly, it's really up to you how you want to play the game. If you want to be a goody two-shoes and, not wear any armor, you can. You want to be a scientist? You can. You want to be a decked-out, power-armored fiend who's completely out of their mind on jet? You can. You want to be evil? You can. And that goes into the weapons as well. The variety of the weapons is honestly something that I wasn't a big fan of. There are special weapons in this game, but most of the time they're just reskinned basic weapons with a couple added perks. And honestly, it's okay, but I loved the 10mm pistol in this game. It was actually one of the ones I used a lot, which is something you literally get at the beginning of the game, so they're very vanilla. I enjoyed going around finding different factions, different partners to partner up with, finding out people's stories, the lore, and what had happened, especially because you're, quote, born in a vault, so you didn't know what had happened in the outside world. It is so immersive to learn these things and get into all the different environments. In my opinion, the intro cutscene to this game is the best out of the Bethesda Fallout games. Compared to New Vegas and Fallout 4, the cutscene here introduces the player to the environment and what is going on, and it's all around beautiful and breathtaking. Now, let's get to the complaints I had about this game. If you played this game when it came out on the 360, the PC, or the PS3, then you probably didn't have too much of a bad time. Now, if you played it anywhere in the future after Games for Windows closed down on PC, then you might have had a less than stellar time. It wasn't until October 2021 when Bethesda finally removed the Games for Windows requirement for Fallout 3. Games for Windows had been dead a long time at this time, and it was still a pain in the butt to get running, and I personally had to jump through so many hoops to be able to play this game on PC. I had bought it on Steam and not on GOG because I got a gift card, which leads me to my thoughts on the DLC. If you play this game originally when it came out before the DLCs and you finish the main story, which is rather short, you would be in for a bad time. If you did no exploration, it was just the end of the game. It wasn't till the DLCs came out that you could continue to explore and do other things in the game. And I believe that was a huge oversight, especially with how short the main story is. Out of all the main stories in the Fallouts I've played, I believe Fallout 3 is probably the shortest. You can get through it relatively fast. But that was rectified with the DLCs, so good on them. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is a couple of the DLCs and their enemies that they have. Now, I know people will be like, oh, you're just complaining, blah, 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 but both Mothership Zeta and Point Lookout literally had enemies that would ignore damage because of what Bethesda programmed. They figured, hey, guess what? The player's going to be level 30 plus, so we're going to give them extra melee damage, and they'll take less damage from this. Even on lower difficulties, these areas are still very difficult. And in typical Bethesda fashion, they're sponges. As someone who's never played Fallout 2, I have nothing to complain about Bethesda's direction with their first Fallout game that they made. There are plenty of people who do not like the way Bethesda took the Fallout, but if you look at the previous developers' directions that they were taking the Fallout series, you can see why Bethesda did what they did with the Fallout series. And now, here we are with the conclusion of this game. Yeah, it has its flaws, and hasn't really aged well if you think about it, but honestly, that's what mods are for, and that's what you've been looking at right here on the screen, is a modded Fallout 3. Some people might see those as negatives and stuff like that, but honestly, objectively, I think it's a great game. But if we're going to go by today's standards, I think it's a 7 out of 10. But for me personally, it's an 8 out of 10. Because it has that special, hey, it was my first Fallout game. Hey, I've never experienced this before. Hey, what's that over there? Should you play this game? Yeah, you should. You should.